Hey folks, happy Friday here. I'm Nick Slavic. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades of experience as an entrepreneur and a craftsman to answer any of your questions live. So for homeowners, you can ask any question you've ever wanted to ask about wood finishing, painting, painting projects around the house, and this is one of the largest forums of professional craftspeople in the world, and we're here to help answer any of your questions. Now for business owners, contractors, you know what you're here for. We can talk apprenticeship, marketing, entrepreneurship, coding science, standards, things like that. Today is a very special show. We have Louis Jasso from Surf Prep. You guys have seen these all over the internet so far. I've had mine for a month or two, give or take, and I have put it to use over the hundreds of hours, and we're going to talk to the man himself behind Surf Prep, and I'm going to actually give you a demo here of all the fun little things that can go. We got a cabinet door here ready to go, and I'm going to show you exactly why this thing caught my attention a couple months ago, and I reached out to the company to do this. Also, something that you maybe haven't seen before is something actually really cool. Let's see if I can get this around here. LED inspection lights. So you have that to look forward to as well. So I'm gonna invite Louis on here, and we're gonna talk Surf Prep. So let's see if I can bring him on here. All right, I'm gonna, excuse me for a second. I'm going to, all right, let's see if I can search up Louis here. Bring him on, it'll be just a second. As usual, kindest thing you can do for a show like this is to like it and share it. We're gonna get into all these specific Surf Prep kind of stuff in a second here. I'm gonna see if I can bring Louis up. All right, I'm not seeing him. So as soon as he joins, I think we will get on here. And it looks like you used to be able to search for people and request them to come on here. I'm not seeing a search function anymore. So anyway, thank you to the PDCA, the Painting and Decorating Contractors of America. I thought this was a very suitable show for the Contractor Question of the Month. Over the last 2 weeks, I have had an insane number of I'm having problems with cabinet sort of questions. And some of it has to do with primer. A lot of it has to do with this, what you do to the cabinets beforehand. So I thought, you know what? We got Louis Jasso, we got Surf Prep. I'm in the shop, I have all my stuff here, and I'd answer some simple questions like that. So number one, finishes that don't adhere. The most important, I just see Louis hop on here. I'm gonna see if I can't request him. And then we'll get to the contractor question of the week. Oh, I don't see, let's see if we can get him on here. Sorry, we're searching through the feed here, see if I can get Louis to come on. I don't see a little add button next to him, so maybe his internet isn't strong enough. We will see. Louis, hang tight. Stay on here with me and see if you can't. I made it possible for you to request to go live with me right on the feed here, so hop on there whenever you can. Oh, thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate it. So a lot of times, cabinet adhesion problems has to do with not only the primer you use. I'm a big fan of oil-based primers still because I can get them readily. It has almost everything else to do with prep. So I go through a process called SVT, sand, vac, and tack. And even though we're not removing a whole bunch of finishes on these cabinets, we are scuff sanding it, roughing up the surface to give it that tooth. You're expanding the actual contact area by putting little grooves in that finish so that when you do put the primer on, it adheres to it. Now, something most people don't know about oil primers is that the molecular size of oil primer can be somewhere between 5 and 20 times smaller than that of a water-based or a lacquer primer, things like that. So when you're thinking about total effective contact area, those grooves that you put in there, a tiny little ball of a molecule, those can fill up those valleys much better than one big glob of something that sits on there. So a lot of the times when you have water-based primers that kind of peel off or chip off, it's because number one, there's chemical adhesion. So sometimes the chemicals just don't adhere. Number two, there's mechanical adhesion. So sometimes those big beach balls of water-based primer molecules just physically don't fit into the grooves and stuff. So I'm gonna see if I can get Louis Jasso on here. Okay, so I see that you're on, Louis. I don't see an add button next to your name. So I did make it possible for you to be added on or to request. So if you have a little button, there should be a little green button at the bottom here. It can says request to go live if you'd like to. I'm going to go through a couple other questions here while we're going. Matthew Varga. Happy New Year, Nick. So excited to see that what you're working on lately and pumped for my own New Year of change. Still loving apprenticeship. Good, man. I am still apprenticing as well. So we never stop improving our processes. And lately, we've had a whole bunch of new construction projects going on. So I've been deep diving into process refinement, efficiency, because if there's anywhere where you can make leaps and bounds improvements, not only in profitability and margins and efficiency, a lot of it has to do with new construction. So, because you're just doing so many square feet of, like we have one sport court in this other house that's, I think there's 2,500 square feet of ceiling in just one room in this house. So if you ever want to improve a process, that's sort of a place to do it there. So I'll be happy to follow along, Matthew, and see how your apprenticeship goes this year. Okay, Leonard Shepard, got a question, might be off topic. If you can answer, have you ever painted a laminate floor with whitewash? That sounds like something I would never do. Not because it's impossible, but because it sounds like there's basically no way for that to turn out well, especially with the amount of labor that you get in there. So laminates, number one, are kind of like Teflon. Nothing is supposed to stick to them like that. Before I finish that answer, wash. So if I assume I understand what you're saying is either painting it or doing it with some sort of beachy driftwood sort of grayish whitish finish so you can see the stuff through. Number one, most laminate floors are sort of like Teflon. They're not supposed to have things stick super hard. They're baked on. Oh, there he is. How's it going, man?
How's it going?
Sorry
about that.
Good. Hey, no worries, man. I am halfway through a question. I got a question from somebody, and I was kind of filling with random questions from people here, but Leonard asked, how would you, or if you ever would, whitewash a laminate floor in a house? And I basically said, don't. But if you have to, I just wouldn't. Laminates are like Teflon. Nothing is supposed to stick to them. And especially if you're thinking about doing a whitewash so that you can see through, I can't imagine that is going to turn out well for you. I would not sleep at night, even trying to get a solid colored coating to stick to it, knowing that there's going to be adhesion issues, let alone something you can see through. So if there's something I'm not understanding about the question or something more specific that would help me answer that, let me know. But otherwise, Leonard, I would absolutely not try to do that, especially because laminate floors are so inexpensive nowadays. You might as well just find one you like and do that, and you're going to get a lot more years of service out of it. So, all right. So, Mr. Jasso, let's talk surf prep.
Yes, sir. Sorry about all of that. I was trying to figure out how to get this going.
No worries, man. So basically, I'll give people a little background, and I want to hear you. I want to hear about how surf prep came about, and then I actually, I'm in my shop today, and I was going to actually show people why I'm such a big fan of this now. So I've had this tool for maybe a month or two now, and it was interesting because I was just about to head off on my 4-state Northeast tour to talk about cabinet finishing. And like the day before I left, you got in contact with me, and I saw a picture of this with the foam pad and the profile sander, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, and I was telling people on my tour, it's like, we have all the Festools and the Mercas and the DeWalt's and everything else, and it's great, except for that one thing where you always have to take out that sanding block and get all the grooves. And I said, I cannot wait to get back and start using it. And that's been my relationship with surf prep. So yeah, I mean, who are you? Why did you come up with surf prep? And tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't actually come up with surf prep. I am helping surf prep, bring brand awareness to the smaller shops, the painters, the specialty coating contractors, etc. I have been using surf prep for many years. I met Skylar Feria, who is the owner of surf prep, a few years back at an industry trade show. And when I seen the product, I fell in love with it, and I started implementing it in my shop. So I do contract finishing, wood coating specialist is basically what I do. And what I found is that the smaller shops, they just don't usually get the attention like the big OEM, furniture and cabinet manufacturers. So in my professional career, I networked like crazy with all of the large manufacturers, and Surf Prep was one of them. And they have such an innovative product that I started talking to Hannah and Skylar, and just one thing led to another, and I couldn't be happier to be a part of it because it literally has changed a lot of people's preparation process for the better. So awesome stuff.
No, absolutely, and quicker and better, which is something, as contractors we're always looking forward, because we can always do better, but we always have this constraint of after a while nobody's going to pay you for all your extra effort, so you have to do the best job you can within sort of the allotted time that your contract has given you.
Right. Yep, absolutely.
And so why don't you walk us through? I mean, I have probably the most famous piece of surf prep equipment out there. What else is in the surf prep family?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
What other tools and stuff are in the surf prep family? Because I have only one, and I know there's multiple other tools out there.
Right. So obviously the 3x4 is what everybody's going crazy over right now, but we also have a 5-inch and a 6-inch orbital, both in air and electric. We make a 3x8 electric and air that's good for flat panels, and we also manufacture a 3-inch round sander that a lot of solid surface guys use as well. So Surf Prep has been around for a long time. Just it's fairly new on this, but big, large manufacturers have been using Surf Prep for years and love it. So we have a full line of abrasives as well. So we make 9x11 sheets and 5-inch discs, and all the hand sanding abrasives, wide belt abrasives. If anybody needs wide belt abrasives, we literally have everything that you would need for. Yep. So our
No, and
film.
I was really impressed. Like these are substantial sort of pieces of even all the little sanding accessories, things like that. It's not sort of a hey, there's a really good tool and a bunch of other like regular sandpaper in there. These abrasives are really substantial, and we used it on the first project we did was a big spa refinish where they had a whole bunch of cedar and pine that have gotten water damage over the years. Beautiful, beautiful setting at this high-rise complex, and we basically stripped all the wood down to nothing. And we used the Surf Prep, and we had them coupled to. We have Mirka and Festool dust extractors, so we coupled ours to both of those, and we went to town. And you know what those settings are like too. When you're doing it in and around a high rise, there's noise problems, there's dust problems, there's smell problems, and it took it off super quick. We were able to extract all the dust. Everything was kept super quiet, super clean, and we just motored right through that project like that. It was a really fun one.
Yeah, and that's the really neat thing about Surf Prep, and that's the product was designed to be used in a manufacturing facility all day, every day. It wasn't designed to be a consumer product, that's used occasionally. So, it's low profile, it's lightweight, and it doesn't get hot on you. I don't know if you've experienced that with other units, but it's very, very good technology, and it's extremely durable.
Well, and what's interesting about that is, it's fairly lightweight. So you think, oh, well, this might be one of those buzz sanders. If you go and you buy a $15 random orbital sander, the thing makes your hand go numb in 10 minutes. The actual movement and rotations of this, the first thing that I noticed about Surf Prep, and I'll turn it off there, but the actual movement is so fine and so refined and so it almost doesn't feel like it's moving in your hand, but there's not power. It still feels like it's doing what it's supposed to. But I don't want to compare brands and stuff, but from all the other stuff I have, this is probably the most sort of smooth, refined sort of tool that I have.
Right, absolutely. And you can imagine when you have you know, you're running hundreds and thousands of panels through a shop a day, and you have 40 to 50 people on a sanding line. You have to have something that's comfortable in your hands, and that's what this product is designed for. And but like as well, I'm sorry, like, you know, the abrasives are also what make it very unique.
Absolutely. So, and I know the thing that probably a lot of people are going to be watching for, and the reason that this caught my eye is not only does it have a compact little 3x4 setting, it's got a nice pad on it already, so it'll contour. But the thing that caught my eye was the pad extension. So you put this guy on here, and along with an abrasive, and you have a whole bunch of now room to get into those moldings. And one of the first images I saw was of, you know, standard cabinet doors, something like that, and I saw basically the sander contouring to those profiles like that. I thought that is something that, you know, I only did hand sand in my company right now until we have surf. So now, you know, when we have the pad on there like that, as soon as you get this machine going, you can now mechanically sand all those profiles and grooves, and that was it was a big game changer. It was a big improvement for us.
Yeah,
So yeah, what how do you use
absolutely.
specifically the surf prep stuff in your shop? Because you're a very, very good wood finisher. You have tons of experience with it. I'm sure you have uses that maybe I didn't think or other people didn't think about.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, you broke up just a little bit, but I heard a majority of what you said. So in my shop, you know, what I like to tell people as a consultant, because, you know, I do train a lot of people on how to finish. Everybody gets so caught up on the coatings that they're using, they miss the most important step, which is prep. You know, I, especially with a refinish application, my guys utilize it to ensure that we have sanded literally every single surface with the appropriate grit in our standard operating procedures to ensure that we don't have finish failures. And this tool, you know, with it eliminating the hand sanding, I don't know if people really realize how significant that is when it comes to labor. For me as a contract finisher, at one point having, you know, over 10 employees doing multiple jobs around town, once you start to really dive into those numbers and understand that a majority of your labor time is spent sanding, anything that'll improve that process is a huge help and worth the investment. And, you know, we've actually done calculations based on people's operations, their sanding operation in particular. And I mean, we just save a significant amount of time and money. I mean, we start talking thousands and thousands of dollars when we're talking labor hours, you know, from one tool. So it's significant.
Usually, you know, as contractors, what we have to do is say, you know, can we do it faster or can we do it better? There's not a lot of cases where we can have both. And for me, the things that are interesting to me are things like, you know, surf prep are, yes, do it faster, but there is also a better thing too, because we're always looking to better processes, better our like that. So, but I will I will adjust the camera here. I'm going to do a little sanding on the profile of this thing just so everybody can see it. Super satisfying to watch. And I want to talk more about, so guys have Merca, guys have Festool, there's this, you know, a whole bunch of others. I want to talk about how everything works together, where they can find it, and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I'll just on my dust extractor quick here. And sorry, I think the feed is breaking up a little bit, so my apologies for that. For people who want to get their hands on some Surf Prep gear, where can they go to get it?
Yeah, they can go directly to the website, www.surfprep. I'm sorry, surfprepsanding.com. We have a lag. I apologize.
Surfprepsanding.com, and I think you can get all the abrasives and everything else there as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And obviously when I started posting about the Surf Prep gear, everybody else says, yeah, but I have Festool already. How does all these things interplay together?
Mm-hmm. No, you can.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I
I
know
think
that.
significant lag here.
Oh, sorry about that. No, so I know that in my shop we have any number of different